Here's what I don't care about. And I'm coming from a place where I was an advocate early on that college meant less to me than probably other employers. And this is from me hiring 1,000+ people.
Okay.
When I ran the software and marketing company, I would stand on a pedestal and say, I don't need a college degree to be able to hire you here. Like I would advocate for that. I would talk out loud and I would get some pushback on that early on. What I don't look for, and I look at as almost like a negative, is someone who has an MBA and they're in their early 20s. And why I say that is I'm seeing this issue in terms of trying to hire people that a lot of folks are going to get their MBA because they're having a hard time maybe in the job market. And on the surface, it makes sense. You want to take action, and that's admirable. But at what expense? And could you be doing something else with that time that's more beneficial?
So particularly through the lens of like, it's a competitive job market. I need to get an advantage. So I must need an MBA. And you're saying that's the wrong framing.
From my perspective, that does nothing. There are exceptions, and you and I talked offline about them, that you get your MBA from Harvard. Like you might be able to get hired on Wall Street more effectively. And big companies, they like to hire those MBAs from Ivy League schools because they look good to investors and they look good on websites. And there's merit in that. I'm talking about like what I see, and that is everyday people that get done with college. They're a little bit lost. They don't know what to do. And they just go to get their MBA because they think that's the solution. And I think you're just racking up debt.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the payoff that you think.
Is it I don't know what to do, so I'm going to go get my MBA versus this kind of cult of personality around who has an MBA and around CEOs and business leaders, like as a pinnacle in our society? I want to aim for that, so I need the MBA to get that versus something. It's a signaling in a way.
I would ask, is that in fact still true today?
Yeah.
I don't know any other peer that would hire someone just because they had an MBA and they don't have the required skills it takes. Even though that if you put two people in front of me, I needed someone for the business side of things. And you brought to me this super talented person that never graduated high school, that has the willingness and knowledge and is super creative. Even if I didn't need that person, I'd be more inclined to like look at that person versus someone with general knowledge and has their MBA. It just doesn't do anything for me as an employer in terms of like, how is that person really going to help? Because you're kind of starting at the ground floor anyway. What's the outcome of that? So like, I like to think about like, play it out. Okay, so you go get your MBA. Now you're in the job market. Now in your mind, you have to make more money,
right,
than if you didn't have your MBA, because now you have more debt and you have more of a monthly nut to cover,
right,
that you just can't take an entry-level job in the same way. So now you put yourself at a disadvantaged position in the job market because you're going to be looking for these higher-end jobs with like little experience.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing is like these folks that, you know, they have these aspirations to get these jobs and they think it's going to magically happen once they have their MBA. And I just don't think that's.
I think this plays into the broader conversation around like the cultural way in which we say, hey, if you want to have a good job, you're going to need to go to college. And thankfully that there's some pushback on that, like trade schools might be a better opportunity, getting an apprenticeship, setting aside the ways in which you can be quote unquote successful that don't have anything to do with how much money you made, right? MBAs, it seems like you're saying, have become a quick extension of, well, you got to go to college. Well, you got to get an MBA if you want to have this good job, if you want to be a leader in a company. And it's like, that's bullshit.
It's dated thinking, especially in this new world we live in. And 5 years ago, and maybe there's merit to it. Again, I didn't believe in hiring someone just because they have a degree. Now it does show like, yeah, they put in the work, they have discipline, they got through it. Like I get all that. But again, if you come to me with this skill and you are refining your skill and you know this thing that's valuable to business, not only do I not care, like you could work in Germany, like for all I care. As long as we're getting the work done and it's efficient and you do a good job and you add value in a way where it helps the entire business and achieve our outcomes faster, I don't care about any of that stuff. And I never had. So my mindset hasn't changed a lot, but what I see is like the other side of it where people are a little bit lost. And My red flag is someone who has no work experience and has an MBA, because then I'm like, okay, do you know how to put together a financial analysis or cash flow forecast, or, any of these things that you might touch on in an MBA? But I think we're in the world of like specialists, and being a specialist in something is so much greater than being a generalist with no experience. I'll give you a case in point. We're working on a software project right now with my own business partner and CTO. He's leveraging a lot of AI for it. He is far more efficient, but has to have a deep understanding of code to leverage the AI in a way where it is the most beneficial, as opposed to someone that knows a little bit and can spin up a website using AI and they're high-fiving. Well, when you want to take it to that next level, and you want to build secure applications, or you want to build a database, or you want to like connect with APIs, it gets more complex quickly. So having that skill still, I think, is a huge advantage in today's day and age. Understanding accounting is hugely important. And I would say take that, leverage AI, and create something new from there that you can, like, if you came to me and you're like, hey, I can manage your books. I just want to let you know I use AI for a lot of it, but I can reduce your costs by 80% and you're going to have your statements a lot faster. I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, right.
Let's do it. Like, I care about the outcome.
Yeah.
If you come to me and you say, hey, I am using AI for the creative, but you're not going to tell a difference, but I could do 100 pieces of creative in the same time your graphic designer can do one.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Like, but you have to have an understanding of Photoshop maybe, or you have to have an understanding, like all those skills play a part in this bigger world. I think this notion of like, yeah, you go to school for this thing is going to be obsolete. For most people, that's true, unless you can think bigger about that thing that you want to do.
Right.
That now you're creating a product that you have a much deeper understanding, very similar to like my story in automotive. There's no way I would have understood the problems I was solving if I hadn't been in the automotive space before that. And like building cars and then working with car dealers and then building websites and understanding the psychology of the car dealers to understand what would motivate them to purchase. I could have built a website, but it wouldn't have hit all those buttons. And if I would have went to school for business, which I did, like I did get a business degree. I did start my master's. So I'm coming from all those places. Like, none of that really helped me. It did help me unlock my opportunity to get into Ford. But from there, that was it. Like the rest was on what you can do on your own.
Kind of like the MBA just becomes a passport. Like it's going to get you into some spots, but it's not going to make you better at doing anything when you're there.
That's my argument. The spots you get into now with an MBA are coming smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And someone comes to me with an MBA, immediately think, in my mind, it can be completely not true, but my perception is person's going to need a higher salary. They probably don't have the skills I need. And from there, they're starting off at a disadvantage.
It sounds like you're saying the experience too, and the knowledge experience. Young person with an MBA may be a little bit different than someone coming in.
That's right.
40 or 50 years old.
We have an amazing employee and partner in the business that has their MBA from a really good Ivy League school. He has had many years of work experience too. He's still like 30. He's very, very young. But if he came to us and he had that MBA without the experience and like we're teaching him everything from the ground up, way different story than him coming in and is like, hey, I've done this before.
Sure.
I'm going to take you guys up a level.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. Is from his business acumen. And so there's merit in if you have experience, you know what you're doing, and now you have these skills that you were learned in while getting your MBA, but I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing the opposite for most people. Seeing someone that gets their MBA at 21 and are going just racking up debt. And my call out is just be careful.
But if you're talking to an auditorium full of high school kids or college kids or whatever who want to be in business and maybe thinking, well, I'm going to eventually have to go to college and get my business degree, or I'm in college, I'm going to have to go and get my MBA. Like, what are you saying to those young people now to kind of shatter that paradigm of there's a different way to do this and you need to be thinking about it? Maybe it is the right path for you, but it's not the only path. And that's what you're saying is this big red flag. Like, how do you get them to understand that?
I would write on a board, what's your desired outcome? What's your goal? Probably for most kids in that room is to get a good job after college. Okay, if that's your goal, what's the best path to get there, and what has extra benefits that you can learn early, or what has like tentacles, if you will, that you could branch off as you start down this path. And I would say if your goal is to get a good job and your goal is to be happy, the faster that you find out what you're good at and you like to do, the better off you're going to be. And then taking that and exploring how to learn more of that thing as quick as possible in every way imaginable outside of just going to college. When I was into SEO, I listened to every freaking podcast on the internet of SEO. I built websites on the side. I took a Dreamweaver course all online. This was like 2010. Like I did all these things and then all these things to help me understand what SEO was. If I went to school for SEO,
Right.
it would have been a joke. I had to build websites. I had to like take down servers. I had to like do all this stuff for me to learn actually like how the thing works. And on paper, kind of like we were talking about in the previous episode, like the best way to learn how to drive a trailer is to drive a trailer. On paper, you can read all this shit.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. The best way to learn is to take action, learn from success and failure. You're going to learn a lot from losing. I've learned a lot of through the mistakes I've made or I've seen or the circumstances that have happened to us that you just get better and better. Your time and effort is going to be so much better spent on creating a business or trying to work in an early startup, like early startup, than in most cases just going to school because that's what you think you should do. So I would look at it as like the ability when you're young to get learnings and this compound interest effect of understanding what works and what doesn't work for you, and then figuring out what you like to do is so important when you're young. And some of that stuff is very cloudy when you're young. Like at 19 or 20, I had no fucking clue about any of this stuff. And if you sat there and you preached to me, I'd be like, whatever, like I'm young, I got time. And I would dismiss a lot of it. Yet, on the flip side of that, you're just going to follow the status quo and you're going to follow the herd. And to stick out, I'm telling you, you're much better exploring something, deep diving in something you think you're passionate about. And I've heard both sides recently of this thing, like follow your passion. Follow your passion to me just means like you're going to be better at the things you like doing. So figure out what those are as soon as you can.
I can imagine the savvy or cynical kid in that room saying, yeah, but this is the way it's built. And if I don't play by these rules, then I don't have a chance.
You got to play it out and you got to say, okay, if my goal is this, I hear what this guy's saying. He's saying he doesn't look at people that have degrees. He's looking at people that can be added value in these skills. And maybe one of these skills are good for this company or, a company that has nothing to do with what we do, right? Like for us, it's like marketing, manufacturing, you get a wide range of skills that we need. So self-exploration that you need to do to see like, can I get there quicker? And maybe you still go to college, but on the side, you're learning all these things and you're coming in. Yeah, I have a degree. Yeah, I have an MBA. You can have skills without a degree. You can't have a degree without skills to me.
So what do you say to that room full of people who are empowered to change this hiring dynamic? The other CEOs, entrepreneurs, whomever it is, to say, we, as the people who are doing the hiring and building these companies, are putting way too much stock in MBAs or business degrees and not experienced, skill-based knowledge. Like, how do you get your peer group to think differently about this?
I don't think I need to. Like, I just think it's...
Because it's your competitive advantage in some ways not to, like...
I don't
right?
know that. If you're a true entrepreneur, I think there's a difference between a CEO and a true entrepreneur.
Okay, fair.
True entrepreneur is a person that is going to get shit done at all costs in every way possible. When something's fucked up, they're going to figure a way through it.
Mm-hmm.
A CEO in some cases can be someone that the company's already established, they're hired, and they're brought in to do X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two completely different people.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom line is if you're a true entrepreneur and you want to succeed, why would you give a shit? Like, how is that going to benefit me?
Right.
At the end of the day, I need to sell beer, right? And the more beer I sell, I don't need to tell someone, oh, well, yeah, we didn't hit our numbers, but great news, I hired like 4 MBAs. No one gives a shit. It's how do you get to the outcome the fastest way? And how am I going to do that? By hiring people that are skilled. Like, that's what it comes down to. And if you don't get that, then you're not an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way you're an entrepreneur if you don't understand that. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like a real entrepreneur. Now, if you're a big public company, there's other dynamics. I've been on that side of it and I've seen it. And that's why I didn't love it. But like, now you're you live and die by quarterly earnings, and there's a big perception thing there. And you do need to hire like people with, you do need to get the McKinseys that create presentations for you. And you do need these things to validate to other MBAs that are investors or that are, people at these big companies that determine the stock value to give them confidence, right?
Right.
But for the everyday person that isn't in that world, or that is like, early stage kind of company, or, I'd even say like, it's hard to say like from an employee perspective, but if you're under $100 million, like you're probably going to be in this position that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's hugely important to think about, like, what's your goal?
Yeah.
And my goal is to sell as much beer and make as much money as we possibly can in terms of top line revenue over time, get our gross margins to best in class. Now I have a sustainable company that can live with or without external investments. And the best way forward is to hire people that know what they're doing. And I could give a shit, like if they graduated high school.
Yeah. I think there's probably a lot of people that would say, yeah, we need more of that. We need more of that kind of mindset by the people who can make a difference.
There's no
so
other
that we
option.
don't need to run in this kind of rat wheel of, yep, I go to college, got to get an MBA, got to do this.
At least in my world, and maybe my world's tainted by what I've been doing for the last 2 decades, being an entrepreneur and building things. But this notion of just like going to work for a big Fortune 500 company had this like very amazing romanticism even 15 years ago, right? Like it was like, oh man, you work for Ford, you work for
Sure.
GM, like that's incredible. Not to say that that's not incredible, but I think it's lost a little bit of its luster, and that there's merit in, oh, I went and I founded this startup, or I'm a co-founder here, or I'm the developer on this thing and we're trying to change the world. You're going to learn so much in your early 20s that by the time you're 30, you're going to be a fucking rock star. You're going to be unstoppable.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.